Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have once again found themselves at the centre of a familiar storm, not because they have done anything new or outrageous, but because they continue to exist visibly, confidently, and independently outside the rigid boundaries of the institution they chose to leave behind. According to recent reports, Prince William is said to be frustrated, even angered, by what he perceives as the Sussexes disturbing his peace through their latest moves. But when you peel back the layers of this story, what emerges is not misconduct or confusion, but a deeper struggle over control, optics, and who gets to define legitimacy in a changing royal landscape. Let us start with the claim that Harry and Meghan are continuing to use royal status despite stepping back from official duties in 2020. This accusation has been repeated so often that it is treated as fact, yet it consistently ignores reality. Harry and Meghan did not strip themselves of their titles, nor were those titles revoked. They remain the Duke and Duchess of Sussex by law and by royal decree. Using their names, their monogram, or their legally held styles is not an act of rebellion. It is not a power grab. It is simply factual. What seems to truly unsettle Prince William, according to these reports, is not the use of a crowned monogram in a private letter or the idea of overseas travel. It is the visibility of Harry and Meghan on the global stage, operating without palace oversight and still being warmly received. That reality challenges the long-held belief that royal relevance flows only through the institution, never outside of it. The Sussexes' trips to Nigeria and Colombia are frequently dismissed as quasi-royal tours, a term designed to delegitimize rather than describe. These visits were not organised by Buckingham Palace, did not involve state authority, and did not represent the British government or the monarchy. They were invitations extended to Harry and Meghan because of their work in mental health, veterans' issues, women's empowerment, and cultural diplomacy. That is not role confusion. That is soft power in action. Prince William's reported frustration stems from optics, from how things look. This is revealing. It suggests that the concern is not about constitutional boundaries or legal definitions, but about perception. If Harry and Meghan travel abroad, are greeted by officials, engage with communities, and receive media attention, it highlights an uncomfortable truth. They do not need royal machinery to command interest or respect. The idea that any visit by Harry and Meghan would automatically be staged and received with the trappings of officialdom says more about public enthusiasm than about Sussex intention. People show up because they want to. Media covers them because there is demand. Governments and organisations engage with them because their work resonates. That is not something William can control, no matter how carefully he tries to manage institutional clarity. The surfaced letter to Australian psychologist Angela Pearl has become a focal point of this latest narrative. The use of a crowned monogram has been framed as provocative, as if Harry and Meghan are deliberately poking the bear. But context matters. This was a letter of thanks, not a declaration of royal authority. Monograms are personal symbols, not instruments of governance. To interpret this as a threat to the monarchy stretches credibility. What is particularly telling is the language attributed to insiders claiming that Harry and Meghan speak of returning to Australia as something they need to complete or reclaim. That word, reclaim, has been seized upon as evidence of entitlement. Yet it can just as easily be understood as emotional closure. Australia is a place where Harry and Meghan were warmly received during their early marriage, before the full weight of hostility descended upon them. Wanting to return is not about reclaiming power. It is about reclaiming joy, connection, and unfinished personal history. Inside William's camp, this language is seen as problematic. But problematic for whom? For the public or for the heir who is trying to draw sharp lines in a world that no longer fits neatly into black and white categories? The monarchy is evolving, whether it wants to or not. Harry and Meghan represent a version of royal-adjacent life that is values-driven rather than duty-bound. That contrast is uncomfortable for those invested in preserving rigid hierarchies. The report claims William believes Harry and Meghan's actions chip away at the clarity and authority of the institution he is trying to protect. But clarity and authority are not undermined by two people living their lives abroad. They are undermined when institutions fail to adapt, when they appear more concerned with image than with humanity, and when they respond to change with insecurity rather than confidence. If the monarchy were truly secure, Harry and Meghan's independence would not be seen as a threat. It would be seen as proof that the institution is strong enough to withstand difference. Instead, these repeated briefings suggest anxiety. Anxiety that the public is capable of holding multiple truths, that you can respect the monarchy while also admiring Harry and Meghan, that loyalty is no longer exclusive. Meghan Markle, in particular, remains a lightning rod in these narratives. Her confidence, her global appeal, and her refusal to be diminished continue to unsettle traditional power structures. When she walks into a room, she is not overshadowed by royal protocol. She is herself. That autonomy is what truly disturbs the peace of those who believe relevance must be tightly controlled. Prince Harry's role in all this is equally significant. He is no longer the spare playing his part quietly in the background. He is a man who chose mental health over tradition, family over institution, and honesty over silence. That choice redefined what it means to step away. He did not disappear. He transformed. The idea that William will soon be leading the institution as king adds another layer to this tension. Leadership requires confidence, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. Constantly framing Harry and Meghan as destabilizing forces risks making the monarchy look brittle rather than strong. A future king, secure in his role, would not need to police his brother's stationery or travel plans. It is also worth noting how one-sided these reports always are. We hear about William's frustration, William's anger, William's camp. We rarely hear about any attempt at dialogue, understanding, or reconciliation from that side. The burden of adjustment is always placed on Harry and Meghan, never on the institution that contributed to the rupture. Public confusion is often cited as a concern, yet the public is far more discerning than these insiders give credit for. Most people understand that Harry and Meghan are no longer working royals. They also understand that they remain members of the royal family by blood and marriage. These ideas are not mutually exclusive. Confusion is manufactured when it serves a narrative. At its core, this story is not about monograms, trips, or letters. It is about control versus freedom. About an institution trying to maintain a monopoly on meaning in a world that no longer accepts single narratives. Harry and Meghan are not trying to replace the monarchy. They are building something adjacent, something modern, something rooted in service without submission. Every time reports claim they have disturbed William's peace, they inadvertently confirm the Sussexes' impact. Peace that depends on others shrinking themselves is fragile peace. Real stability comes from confidence, not suppression. Harry and Meghan have been consistent. They have said they want to serve, to connect, and to contribute on their own terms. They have done exactly that. If their success outside the palace walls causes discomfort inside them, that is not a Sussex problem. That is an institutional reckoning. As plans for future travel emerge, including possible returns to places like Australia, the pattern will repeat. Warm receptions, media attention, predictable outrage from certain quarters. And through it all, Harry and Meghan will continue doing what they have always done since 2020, living visibly, speaking honestly, and proving that stepping back does not mean stepping aside. The real disturbance here is not to Prince William's peace, but to the outdated idea that relevance can be revoked by decree. Harry and Meghan are a reminder that identity, purpose and public connection cannot be controlled by palace walls. And that is precisely why their presence continues to resonate, no matter how many times it is framed as a problem.